Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Picks on Politics. We have a special episode for you today. I'm Dan Manarino, and I'm going one-on-one with Mayor Eric Adams for the entire half hour as this first year as mayor comes to an end. And Mr. Mayor joining me right now. So welcome back to Picks on Politics. Good to see you, sir.
Hey, Dan, how are you? Good seeing you as well.
All right, busy first year, right? So first off, Mr. Mayor, let's talk about this. How different, it's a loaded question, is New York City today than it was a year ago when you were handed the keys?
Well, I think that many of us could answer the question, how different. Think about what I inherited on January 1st, 2022. We had a COVID crisis, uncertainty if our schools were going to be open or not, if our city would be open. We were spiking. We were dealing with a surge in crime. We had the loss of two of our officers, Officer Rivera and Mora, shortly into the year. We saw a devastating fire that really impacted our city. We saw a transit system where innocent people were being shoved on the track and violent crimes, encampments everywhere. This was a city that I inherited, that we were dealing with many crises from monkeypox to COVID, and we had to respond accordingly. And so let's look at today. What are we facing? We managed COVID, got it under control, and we're moving to clean opening. The asylum seeker problem that was really at a crisis level, we brought it under control. Monkeypox, brought it under control. We're seeing something that was important to me, crime. We see a double-digit decrease in shootings and in homicides. So you're seeing a city that's not coming back. New York City is back.
All right, so you just touched upon a lot of the issues that we're going to get into, the high points, the low points, right? So let's talk about some of these issues that you just laid out, and crime being the first one, sir. So the latest stats out in late November show overall crime slightly down, shootings down 33%. In the past month, transit crime even trended downwards by about 13%. A lot of people were worried about that specific issue of transit crime. So what do you attribute these decreased rates to, and how do you plan to continue that in 2023?
One name, Keyshawn Sewell, the police commissioner, and her team. These officers were dealing with low morale, uncertainty of if they carry out their function, would we be with them? And I made it clear, I'm not going to send my police officers or correction officers or first responders into the line of fire and then abandon them. I'm a general, and I'm going to lead them in the front, and we're going to make sure they get the support they need. If things go wrong, we're going to hold them accountable. But we know they were going to do a good job, and we're going to continue those initiatives.
Okay, so there's still this perception that crime may be an issue, right? Midterm elections, especially with the governor's race, but crime rates in New York City front and center. Many New Yorkers that we put out on social media continuing to say they still feel like it's an issue. You've said that you believe Democrats have a messaging problem when it comes to this very topic. So how do you change the perception of crime as a whole?
Well, it's clear. There's a combination of things that are making New Yorkers not see some of the results that are happening. You know, I came in with the mission of dealing with the gun violence. We removed close to 7,000 guns off our street. 4,400 people have been arrested for guns. That is the highest in a 27-year history. And so we know there will be a while before people go from with what they felt to how they feel. And we're going to continue to drive down crime and make sure the city is a safe city for all.
So when it comes to this issue with the Democrats, right, what do you feel Democrats need to do a better job at when it comes to messaging to maybe push back on the Republicans who say that they are actually ones who are tough on crime and Democrats aren't?
Well, clearly they have a good product. You know, it's the Democrats that are in favor of funding police departments to have the resources they need. We allowed a numerical minority that had a soundbite of defunding police. That is not the narrative of the overwhelming number of Democrats. Republicans voted against the sensible laws for gun reforms. It was Republicans did not support the funding for our police agencies. We've allowed them to use the trick and mirror of saying that they are pro-public safety, when in fact they're to the contrary. They are holding back some of the gun reforms that's dealing with many of the mass shootings that we're seeing and the overproliferation of guns on our streets throughout the entire country.
You know, and you've suggested, and this has been talked about a lot, this topic of bail reform, specifically was a major reason for Democratic losses, right? Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and other progressives are actually refuting what you said. So do you believe there needs to be still changes to the state's bail laws And it hasn't happened yet. So you're prepared to once again go to Albany and say lobby for it if you do believe so?
Well, I think that one of the most misunderstood conversation is how we're holding on to the symbol of one-term bail reform. I've stated this over and over again. There are many rivers that feed the sea of violence. We need to dam each one. It's not just bail reform. We have a problem with recidivism in this city, if not country. The catch, release, repeat system is my focus. A small number of people, close to 1,600, are repeated offenders, and they've made up their mind that they're going to be violent in the city. Many of them have been arrested 4 or more times, and while they're out on bail or out waiting sentencing, they're carrying guns and committing more crime. That's my focus, and I'm going to continue to partner with the governor in accomplishing that.
I understand that, but I appreciate you giving specifics about the issue of bail reform, but this is so front and center for people who say that it needs to change. So I'm listening to what you're saying about the totality of it all, and there's many rivers. But when it comes to bail reform as a whole, do you leave the law the way it is, or are there tweaks?
You know, Dan, the greatest level of discipline is not to fall into the sounds of the noise. I said it once, and I'm going to continue to say it until it resonates. This is not about just bail. This is discovery. This is the number of cases where they're not being prosecuted. This is the number of people who are coming in and getting out. This is the number of people who are in jail that are dealing with mental health illnesses and being placed back on the street. I'm not going to allow us to take this important issue and just put it on one place. That's not going to happen. We need to fix the criminal justice system and the recidivism of dangerous people.
And you see eye to eye with the governor on that very issue?
Oh, without a doubt. You know, every conversation she stated, Eric, we have to go after those recidivists that are repeatedly committing crimes. You have people who have committed 4 felonies or more in our city, dangerous felonies that are repeatedly being placed on our streets. That's unacceptable.
Understood. All right, Mr. Mayor, you're sticking around because we have a lot more to talk about. The recently announced plan to combat the mental health crisis continues to face criticism. And just this past week, Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg releasing his own plan, including an approach that differs from the mayor. We're going to talk about it when we come back.